Okay, we've all been there, right? You've prepared for something, practiced it 1,000 times, and then, when the moment finally comes, you freeze. It's this universal feeling, whether you're giving a presentation, playing a sport, or even taking a test. So, let's get into the science of what's actually happening in your brain when the pressure hits, and, more importantly, what you can do to reclaim your focus when it matters most.
Just picture this. The clock is ticking down, the crowd goes silent, your favorite athlete, someone who's at the absolute peak of their game, has the perfect shot. I mean, it's a game winner. They line it up, something they've done countless times, and they miss. It's just agonizing to watch, and if you've been in that spot yourself, you know it's even worse to experience.
So this whole phenomenon is what we call choking. And it just begs the question, after all that practice, all that prep, why does our performance sometimes just completely collapse at the most crucial moment? What is going on in our minds that derails all of our hard work?
To really figure that out, we first need to understand what choking truly is. So let's take a look at the anatomy of these high-pressure fails.
And here's the crucial point. Choking isn't about a lack of skill, not at all. It's kind of the opposite. It's when a highly skilled person, despite all that practice, fails to perform at their normal level, specifically because of the intense pressure. So it's the pressure itself that's getting in the way.
And you know, this isn't just about sports. Performance anxiety can hit anyone in a high-stakes situation. I mean, think about public speakers totally forgetting their lines, or a spelling bee contestant stumbling on a word they know, or even a world-famous musician hitting a wrong note in front of thousands. It can happen to any expert in pretty much any field.
Most of us just chalk it up to nerves, but the real story is way more complex and honestly pretty fascinating. What's really happening is a battle for focus inside your brain.
So if it's not just about feeling nervous, what is actually short-circuiting our performance? Well, it turns out scientists have pinpointed two main culprits, and they both have to do with how our brain's attention system kind of gets hijacked by stress.
So we've got two big ideas here. On one side, there's the distraction theory. This is all about pressure filling our heads with worry. And on the other side, we have the explicit monitoring theory, which says pressure makes us overthink the very things that should be totally automatic. Let's break them down.
Okay, first up, distraction theory. The best way to think about this is to imagine your working memory as a kind of mental scratch pad. It's where you hold information you need for a moment, like a phone number or your grocery list. But when you're under pressure, all these worries and fears start crowding onto that same scratch pad, overwhelming it and leaving way less room for you to focus on the actual task.
And you can see this in action. Take a look at this study with students doing math problems. Now, when the problems were easy, pressure didn't really make much of a difference. But look what happens with the hard problems, the ones that really demand a lot from that mental scratch pad. The performance of the stressed-out group just plummeted. Their working memory was just too clogged with worry to solve the complex task.
All right, the second explanation is called explicit monitoring theory. This is what happens when pressure makes you consciously analyze and control actions that you've practiced so much they've become totally automatic. You start thinking about how to do it instead of just doing it.
A study on competitive golfers showed this perfectly. So when one group was told to just putt accurately, they did great. But when another group was told to be acutely aware of the mechanics of their swing, something they normally do without thinking, their accuracy actually got worse. They were getting in their own way by overthinking it. So really, you've got these two forces working against you. Either your brain is cluttered with worry, or it's overanalyzing what it already knows how to do. And either way, your focus is in the wrong place.
Okay, so now we get the why, but the real question is, how do we stop it from happening? Well, the good news is, science gives us a powerful toolkit with 3 solid evidence-based strategies to build up our defenses against pressure. And here they are. First, practice under stress. Second, use a pre-performance routine. And third, maintain an external focus. Now, these aren't just good ideas. They're scientifically proven ways to inoculate yourself against the bad effects of pressure.
The first strategy is pretty simple. Practice how you'll play. I mean, if you only ever practice in calm, quiet settings, you're just not preparing for the reality of a high-pressure moment. A study on expert dart players found that the ones who practiced under stressful conditions were able to keep their performance up when the real pressure was on, while the ones who hadn't, well, they faltered. You've got to get used to that feeling.
Second thing you can do is develop a pre-performance routine. This is just a short, consistent ritual that you do right before you perform. It could be as simple as taking a few deep breaths, repeating a cue word to yourself, or a quick little sequence of movements.
Studies in all kinds of sports, from golf to water polo, show that these rituals anchor your mind, quiet the noise, and lead to way more consistent, accurate performance.
And our final strategy directly fights back against that explicit monitoring problem we talked about. It's all about maintaining an external focus. So instead of focusing internally on the mechanics of your body, like what's my arm motion, you focus externally on the outcome you want, like the flight of the ball. For example, experienced golfers who focused on the ball's trajectory performed a lot better than those who were focused on their swing. So when we put all this together, it really changes how we should think about that old saying, practice makes perfect. It's not just about repetition, it's about the quality and the context of that practice.
So maybe it's time we updated that old saying, because true perfection doesn't just come from practice. It comes from practicing under pressure, with a deliberate external focus, and with that end goal clearly in sight. And that is how you learn to stay calm when it matters most.